when I was young, I had red and blonde hair, and they called me Garrett the Carrot, you know. So, but now then it's ironic that I was called the Boll Weevil. I had this older friend call me the Boll Weevil, and just came up with that. It used to be a cartoon character on TV every weekend. So he was calling me Boll Weevil. Well, 2 decades later, I ended up being the Boll Weevil because there's a song, the Boll Weevil, where you been so long? So it was like a little fugitive song. So it fell right in, you are a Boll Weevil, because I wrote a book and it's called The Smuggler's Ghost. And the reason it's called The Smuggler's Ghost is because for over a decade I was a federal fugitive. And when I got out of prison, I was catching dolphin for the Navy, for SeaWorld, and pre-training them and stuff like that. And then we caught sharks because he changed it. The owner, Mr. Canova, changed it to the zoological gardens, aquarium in the zoological gardens. So he brought 15, 20 cats in, leopards, jaguars, lions, tigers, and we could get in with half of them. So I was mainly taking care of, just the cats, and then catching dolphin. I had a boat where we go out, and they had real go-fast boats to catch the dolphin. And the owner's son never caught one dolphin. I had a little bigger boat, and it would only run 20 knots. But I'd get the pod. You get a pod of dolphin, a herd of cattle, and so on. So the pod would be coming down, and you don't spook them or anything. They'll even get on the bow, right along your boat. And then when you get them up close like that, it's called the hook. You let the let go in, which is the weight, and the lead line's on the bottom, cork line's on the top. So we take in the dolphin. Once I got that hook on them, they'll stop because they got sonar and stuff. They can pick up the net around them. And then we get in, and I had to have a federal man on there, Harry Spivey. Back then it was the Marine Patrol. They didn't have Florida Fish and Wildlife. It was Marine Patrol. So we would strike in places, Coffee Pot Bayou and different places like that, and all the people come running out. We're calling the cops, you're going to jail. And he would say, we got a permit here. And I also had a permit to catch fish in the viewfinder. I mean, in the little windows. When you go in the aquarium, there's probably 30 little windows. So I had a permit through the aquarium to catch like sheephead, snapper, different fish in nets. And of course, the bycatch, a lot of them die. And so I got to sell them to Ellsworth. I mean, I could keep the dead fish. So we went right in and just hammered them, just filled the boat up, and 10 of them lived. So that was a good thing. But I was working at the aquarium after I got busted with a multi-tonnage thing. And like I said, I was 20 years old, and they gave all of us 20 years, except for one person. He got 10.
Now, multi-tonnage, let's talk about that. What were you smuggling, and where did you go to get it, and how did that work?
On that trip, it was to Jamaica.
Okay.
And we would get 30,000 pounds, 30,000 is 15 tons. And we had a Desco 72-footer, and that's what would take the loads back, because they were, big boats like a basketball court. And back in the day when it first started, they had bales. If you look at that book that I wrote, on the back, you'll see blocks of tape, because we would lose 4,000 pounds trying to get them out of the boat, because you grab burlap sacks, and as you're passing up, it just break in your face. I mean, because they were rotten. And the Jamaicans, I even sent down tape and a big compactor to make the blocks, and wrapping paper and the tape. My friend Eric over there was going, look at this, you got like 4 different types of tape on these blocks. And that's how we had to smuggle it down there. They didn't have anything. So I was loading one time, and we had a sleeping bag. It took pallbearers. I mean, weighed 300 pounds, so it was just too much. You couldn't even, so we made little blocks, like 45-pound blocks. You'll see them on the back of the book. That picture's all pot. But before, it used to be burlap sacks and stuff, and they would fall apart.
Let's rewind a bit more. When did you first know that selling weed was a viable business, that you could make money to support your family?
as soon as I got a pound in my hands. I mean, I had to pay, I was making $50 a pound. I was getting ounces fronted to me in in the old bags, not with the Ziploc, and it would fill it up. It was called a lid. It's supposed to be like an ounce of pop, but it was a lid. We'd just pack it full.
What was the old bag made of? Not plastic?
Yeah, but it was the old Ziploc where it didn't have a lock on it. It was the type, when you roll it up. So I'd get those at $10 a pound. And I mean, $100 an ounce, excuse me.
Okay.
You get me off it. We would pay, well, once I started smuggling, I'm really getting off course. We were paying $10 a pound. So this guy was giving it to me for 100 an ounce, and I would sell it for 150 an ounce. So I made $50, and I was just starting 7th grade, and I went, yeah. And then we went on, and then my mom was dying, had some thyroid problems where she might not live, and that was the worst fear I've ever had growing up, thinking we're going to go to an orphanage. And the book will tell you where it's going, oh, could we stay with so-and-so, one of the neighbors. And, well, Steve, I know she'd take me, but I don't think you're getting in there with So that was the scary part. So my mom was going, I just want you to graduate from high school.
And she was a waitress, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But now she had lung cancer, and she died at 57, so she died young too. And then my father left us, and then I had a stepfather, and so on. And I just said, I got to make Mom some money. Get out there. Once I saw of a pound of pot, I could make $800 off a pound. My mom would work a month for $800, And then you start going to school, everybody, hey, can I get a couple of them lids and ounces? And and it was a natural thing. We didn't run around with guns. And I mean, if you needed something, hey, you got any pot I get? How big's your truck?
Right. That was local weed, or at least United States weed?
From Jamaica, yeah.
From Jamaica.
That was Jamaica, what we got busted with. Okay. And they busted 10 tons of it, because some got away. 7 got away, and it came in Blinds Pass, because they busted the boat up in Steenahatchee. Well, they tried to. We were going back out to load another night. We couldn't get it all done in one night. So we had 9,000 or 10,000 stacked up on this little island out there, and we were weighing the bales, those big, nasty burlap sacks. And we had a spray paint bottle. If it weighed 80 pounds, you put 80 on it, because back then took a couple guys to carry some of them. That's why we filtered that out, separated the fly dung from the pepper, and it just made things a lot better for stacking. And because when you got all bales in there, they're all different ways, and on the same boat, you could get 10,000 pounds more. If it's, like a brick house, just light them up and it use up all the space. And so we, no.
At one point, did you realize how big of a drug dealer that you were?
Not really, because everybody was smoking it. And then, well, I knew I was in Azalea, 7th grade over there, when, I started getting into it. And then there was lines of people. Half the school would be, hey.
And that's Azalea Middle School, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Middle school.
Yeah, and then we went to Bogey, and also when my mom was supposed to be dying, I hired a guy to go to high school for me, because I had an offer to fly to California, and I grew up surfing. That was my #1 sport. So we flew into La Jolla, California, and stayed at Sunset Cliffs in San Diego, and I was getting paid to mule a friend of mine, Albert, and I were, we were only like 15 years old, 16, and because it was of the year of Woodstock, and we went out and cut funk pot, which grows in Iowa and Nebraska. I don't mean to be getting off course
Funk
with
or
this.
fun pot?
Funk. It was
F-U-N-K.
it was grown by, that's what we call it, because it was kind of nasty, but it was big, long buds, looked beautiful. And then we'd take it to pop festivals, Atlanta, Goose Lake, Michigan. We went up there, my partner and I, Mike, and I went up there, and there won't be anybody up here. And he had never got high before. So he ate some mescaline for the first time. And that was a hot mess. He was all messed up. We go, well, nobody's here who knows us. And then we hear across this little road back in the bushes, hey, Lamb, Mike. And it was people from Paso Grill up there. So, I mean, that's when we started making good money. We left 100 airs and came back 1,000 airs. You know, to buy my mom a refrigerator and get her a car. And I mean, if you leave with $100, you come back $15,000 richer. And you're 16, you know, in the 60s. That's big money.
You talk
So,
about being on the lam, on the run. What was that like for you? And what were your thoughts in your head when you said, I'm running, I'm getting out of here.
well,
They're not going to get me.
oh, they had me. There was no, I'm going to get out of here. They're not going to get me. They did get me. I threw a party with a bunch of people because Buffett was in town. And anyway, I had a party, and the neighbors were vice squad agents from the St. Petersburg Police Department. And they moved in, and they were like neighbors. And so I brought them over, and I invited them to the party. And there was powder on the table and pot. Everybody's rolling up joints and like a pound of pot just to party with, and bowls of cocaine and stuff. So I invited them, yeah, get whatever you want. She goes, oh, could I get some for the boys? And I said, sure. And I go, you want to do a bump? She goes, well, not right now. I'm cooking dinner. And she was a police officer at that time. I didn't know it. But I found out when they pulled me over going to see my sister's first baby, Adam. Hey, Sue had a baby. Okay, we're coming down. Well, when I went down there to my sister's house to get my brother-in-law, we got busted going to the hospital. They just cut us off. And then I look, I said, you gotta be kidding me. It's my neighbors. You know, and we go out fishing, and actually they could have had me if they, I mean, they let me, never charged me with a lot of stuff, but we won't go there with all that. But they started asking me, we don't have to even bring this case up if you want to help yourself. And, you know, I went, oh, yeah, sure. As soon as I got home from that meeting, I was digging up the garden, you know, in the backyard. So I had a good amount of money. I mean, that would...
What'd you put it in to bury it?
Fiberglass. I'd fiberglass it, and then I even had them off the dock.